Hi there, welcome to Homekeepers. Hey, grab yourself a cup of tea and join us. This is going to be such a great program. There's something really nice when I can have good friends on. I don't know, there's some kind of a chemistry there, and that's what I've got today. But first, let me say welcome. You have no idea how much we appreciate our viewers, and every note, every dollar, every letter, every email, how we do appreciate you. So thank you for tuning in. And I feel like we know each other anyway. Well, I said I had really great friends today. My husband and I were pastors for many years, and there was one thing we probably never would have had the nerve to do, and that's to pioneer a church, start a church from scratch. And my guest today did that. I believe, he can correct me later perhaps if I'm wrong, about 2008. And that church is growing and blowing smoke, and multiple services and all, and really a great witness for Christ there in Lakeland, Florida. The name of the church is Access. And we're going to tell you about something very special they've done. This is a very generous church. I've followed them closely. I've attended from time to time, and just all kinds of good news. So I'm anxious for you, if you haven't met them, but they are returning to the show, Pastor Jason and Liz Burns. And I'm going to join Stephanie in the kitchen, and we're going to make a kind of a Mexican casserole. I told her this morning, I said, I think it's a real winner. I think everybody likes kind of Mexican food, and you can mix it any way you want. And so we've got a new way to mix it this morning. It makes a nice casserole. Probably your family would like it. But before I join you, I don't have time to read this again, but on the last program, I read you this description of the Bible, which I found in my dad's Bible, and it was dated 1930. And it's free. Just write to us. We'll be glad to send it to you. But also, you will never ever find a better description of God's Word. I know the first time I read it, I just sat for a while and looked at it and thought, what great mind thought this up? And I want you to have it. It'd be best if you write to us, and if you enclose a gift. Thanks so much. God bless you. And here's Stephanie.
Yes, here I am.
We're trying to control her because she's been hungry.
I'm hungry, so it's time to eat. No.
How did everything get so far behind for you?
I went to get my favorite soup, and they were out, and I had my mind set on it, so nothing else sounded good, and I just came back, and I thought, I'll just eat what we're making on Homekeepers today.
and you tried to get the blood pressure.
I'm trying not to be hangry.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, this has hamburger meat, and it's got refried beans, and all the stuff you put in. It's got taco seasoning, and also you top it with all these beautiful things.
Yes, so I have hamburger, I have a pound of hamburger, I have onion, and I have a little bit of celery in here, which is different than the other taco bakes that we've made. So this is a little celery. So I'm gonna, I browned the hamburger till it wasn't pink anymore. I'm gonna put some taco seasoning mix and some water in.
I really didn't think the Burns would bring their boys because they're probably in school. But I think a kid would like this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this would be a great after school.
And they have the most beautiful children.
Nice.
Just special family.
Nice. Okay, so I have 2 cans of refried beans. Okay, it's the beginning of the year, and it's my time for my Christmas shopping PSA.
Oh, she did something in December for next year.
Not on purpose, it just happened. But anyway, so beginning of the year, if you don't know what you're going to get people, but you know where you like to shop. Every paycheck, get 1 gift card for places that you like to shop. Not as a gift for somebody else, but to use at Christmas time.
That is a
so you
good
have
idea.
all these gift cards built up that you're paying for over time, $25, $50 a paycheck. You have all this money to spend at Christmas time, and it's not right out of your pocket at that time.
You don't go in debt.
Yes.
I think that's a great idea.
Or if you make big meals, get some grocery, where you like to shop at the grocery store, get some grocery store gift cards.
And then when you're having Thanksgiving and
you can get it all, and it doesn't all cost you all that money all at once.
That's a good idea.
Yes, I do that pretty much every year.
Well, she's our official Christmas person because she thinks of it all year. I went to Montgomery, Alabama for Christmas. My son is a pastor there, and my daughter-in-law, oh my, the way she does Christmas. 2 great big trees.
Nice.
Great big ones. One in the family room, one in the living room.
She's my kind of people.
Yeah, and 2 little ones.
Nice.
And then everything, all over. I mean, the mantle.
If my house was big enough for that, I would
would
have
do
all
it,
of
yeah.
that for sure. Now, I'll tell you, and I shared this with some other people. These are canned chilies.
Uh-huh.
After having the breast cancer and the radiation and stuff, the past couple of years, I just really wasn't up to par.
Right.
And especially at Christmas time, I wasn't. This year,
Oh,
I was feeling
have
good.
you hit the 5-year mark?
I'm at 3.
3.
3
so that's
years.
the time she
yes.
goes back
and
to
it's 3 years
Christmas.
like right now. I was diagnosed 2 days after Christmas. So 3 years right now. But this year I felt good.
Praise the Lord.
I shopped all year. I got personalized gifts. It was the best Christmas.
Yeah, and she bought a Christmas gift in December for next year.
Only because
Well-
I was completely done. Everyone was bought for, and I found something for my son that was perfect. And on sale.
That's the time to do it.
So I was like, okay, first Christmas present for next year. Okay, so you bake this, you cook this all up. I have the free-fried beans, the hamburger, the chilies, onions, and celery. You put it in the sprayed baking dish, and you bake it for about 30 minutes. Okay, you bring it out, and then you're gonna put all the lovely toppings.
Yes, and
on
let
it.
me warn you, it's not very pretty when it comes out. It's a kind
Well,
of a yucky color, and that's why you start putting the cheese on it.
Yes. So you're putting cheese, you're putting tomatoes, green onions,
And
olives on maybe half, maybe.
Oh, you
and
don't
some
like
chips.
those?
No.
Amazingly, I do.
I think everyone
see.
by now knows that.
And she wouldn't eat a green pepper if you held a gun to her head.
Not if you paid me. Maybe.
And-
Well, I'll take that back. No.
You might think about that.
It depends on how
So
much.
we're putting some color on it. Now instead of these onions, I put very few onions on this. I would put lettuce. You know, like a
Yeah,
regular
you could
taco.
do lettuce. Mm-hmm. You could also put salsa on top of
Now
it.
we're making it pretty.
Yeah. You could
Look
put
at
all
that.
different cheeses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
you got
Perfect.
everything, and so a few chips on it, and there you go.
Yep. It's
And-
gorgeous, and that will feed a ton. That'll feed a lot of people. This is a frugal meal too.
I happen to know that
We're
my
all
guest
about
is
frugal.
hungry.
Yeah. We told him if he did good, he got
Yeah,
some. If not,
that's
we just
our
exit
rule
you
here.
right out the door.
If you don't do good,
You'll know if you don't do
you
good
leave
because we just
hungry.
say, okay, bye now. No, we don't do
Yeah.
that.
We don't
Okay.
have bad guests, so I wanna.
So good, right?
Yeah.
You know when she throws her fork down,
Mm-hmm.
it's delicious.
It's absolutely delicious.
You can't go wrong.
And you know that because you saw the ingredients in it. And you can have it for absolute free. That information's coming up on your screen. Several ways you can get it, and you choose your way, and we'll get it right out to you. And I would say when you order them, we really appreciate those that email. Sometimes they're real cute. I send them to you and send them
Yeah.
to...
Did you say the name of it? Because it's different than other ones. It's Cobre Valley.
Yeah. Or if you just say Mexican casserole, we'll get
If
it.
you say Mexican casserole, you're going to get probably 25 recipes because we don't know which Mexican casserole you want. So
I
say
will know.
Cobre Valley casserole recipe.
Yeah. Okay. Stay right there. If you haven't met the Burns, I want you to meet them. So stay right there.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, you may receive it by contacting us through social media as listed on the screen. When requesting a copy through the mail, be sure to include a self-addressed stamped envelope. Thank you, and please know we always appreciate hearing from our viewers.
I am so pleased to have my friends Jason and Liz Burns back. You've been on 2 or 3 times. You're always welcome. And you're a preacher's kid.
I am.
And I'm a preacher's kid, and I found this thing in my Bible. I told them more about it yesterday. It was dated 1930. My dad had cut it out, so I don't know how old it is. But I want you to have one because
Thank you.
when you read that, it's the greatest description of the Bible ever.
Wow.
And I offered it a few years ago, and the orders just came in. If you love your Bible, you'll love it more after you read this. I'll say that.
Thank you
well,
so much.
welcome, pioneer pastors of Access Church, did I get the date right? 2008?
We actually started in March of 2017 or 2007 as a college Bible study. So,
Right.
Yep.
You know, that's a pretty good way to start out.
It is, but there's challenges doing it that way. It takes a little while
Yeah,
to
but
overcome
also that wasn't your intent, was it?
Yeah, we had no intention of starting a church. We just had a lot of friends in the city who said they loved God but didn't love the church. And so we started a college Bible study for them, and we discovered they actually did love the church. They just needed one for them.
And there are differences in churches. I hope the message isn't that different. Of course, there's some. You know, this week the Methodist Church split because
Saw
of doctrine. I don't know how this one side ever could find in the Bible what they were promoting, but hopefully there's different methods, but the message remains the same.
It really is our heart. And we want to do whatever it takes to reach people for Jesus. And so we'll never compromise the message, but our methods have to evolve and change over time.
Now, the first time, I don't know if I met you then, but I did see you. I took my grandsons, because you were holding a children's night at a church locally, and my grandsons were little. And I love traveling children's ministries. I love them. So I took them. And so being a preacher's kid and doing this gives you really a good foundation.
Yeah, well, we're both actually pastors' kids. My wife's parents.
Oh,
That means
that's
tell them.
right.
Yeah, I'm a pastor's granddaughter too, so it just
Yeah,
is
me
in
too.
the DNA.
Well, I tell you, in many ways, it's a shortcut because you understand.
Yeah.
You know, you've learned everything just sitting on the front row.
Yeah, but I think it also gives you that realistic view too. So you've seen it, and if you really choose to go into ministry, you know it's because you love people and God has called you. So even if you've watched it be hard.
Yeah, you love people, but they're not all lovable.
You've obviously done this before.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed about your church, all these years it's met in George Jenkins High School, and when I have visited, you got to have your own building. I've kind of berated you for that. So you got to do this. Because I remembered when I traveled, I spoke in some of those. And any way you can explain the faithfulness of the people who unload the sound equipment, and they make a nursery, and they make a children's Sunday school?
Yeah, I mean, they're the heroes of our church.
They
I mean,
are.
we're literally doing a meeting Thursday night just to honor those people in our church because they show up 3 or 4 hours before church, stay 2 hours afterwards to set up and tear down. And if it were not for them, our church wouldn't have existed this whole time.
Yeah.
Well, I've also known occasions because my grandson Jordan, and you might remember him, he was on here not too long ago, worked with you for several years. And you would get some money saved for a building, and then you go give it away.
We just always try to be the most generous people. Like our philosophy is living open-handedly, which means God doesn't give us more to increase our standard of living, but it's to increase our standard of giving. So we've just always said, God, whatever you give us, we'll be faithful to give and make a difference with.
Can you remember through the years the times you have had money, probably in your mind as a building fund, and then some missionary, had a need and you gave it to them?
Yeah, we've done this over and over throughout the history of our church.
have.
And like you said, I mean, you've probably been in services where we announced, hey, we're going to give this or make a donation or do this to change the world. And our church has just got it in our DNA at this point. Like, we're going to give.
May it remain. You know Wayne Deary.
Yes.
Now, didn't your church?
He was my youth pastor.
Oh, he was. Boy, it's a small world.
Back in the day at Wekiva Assembly in Orlando. It's not called Wekiva, it's now one church, but he was my youth pastor growing up, yes.
And so our people know him.
Yes.
The viewers here know him. I've had several times. He goes over there and just builds a church
Yeah.
in Africa. And
Yeah.
it's out in the bush where people have gone to church under a tree for decades. And your church just built one, didn't they?
Yes, we've built
I think we've 5 or 6
five or
with
six
him now.
churches with him, and we love seeing the people that it winds up feeling like family, your partners in ministry, and just to know that there's somebody worshiping there in Kenya that we are worshiping in Lakeland, but it's the same God, the same place, and we're all lifting him up. I love that idea. Yeah.
Now, this is a very talented lady,
Oh, so much.
and very beautiful, by the way.
Yeah.
What is your role in the church? Is it
So for
Specific?
many years, we have 3 children, 12, 9, and 5, and for many years I was home with them. As you know, it's the first line of defense and the calling. But my degree is in music, so now I help occasionally lead worship on Sundays. But I also have been overseeing like care ministry. One of the things I said to Jason is the thing I can best do for the church is just to organically love people the way I would in a normal setting. I love connecting with people, finding out their needs, making sure they're getting connection. And I think that matters for the DNA of a church so that people don't slip through the cracks.
Yes, we're going to put the website up of the church, and you see how they baptize people out in the lobby. My granddaughter was baptized last year, I think, and I went over to see it. And what a thrill! And you got a lot of young people, but you also have some seniors.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the challenges of starting as a college Bible study, is people thought we were just for young people. But it's been neat to see what God has done over time. We've grown more diverse in age and all different kinds of ways. And I'm excited because you just mentioned that you've chastised me for not having a building.
Yes, many times.
We got a building. We literally just a couple weeks ago signed on it. And so we're going to tell our people this weekend. And
I want everybody in this room to applaud for this new building. And I'll tell you why, because we're getting a first on it, although this won't air until after you've told your church, but we're ahead of the church knowing, really. I am thrilled. Do you want to give us any more information about it? Or?
Yeah, it's on the main road right in the heart of town. For years we have looked for a building, and it's never been a money issue, it's been an opportunity issue, and there just haven't been places. And the few places we've looked at, there's always been some major compromise. Not enough parking, too small. If we spent $1 million on it, it would still look like an old church. This building that we've been given by God, I believe, it's a fraction of the normal cost, so the finances are amazing. And from day one, it will feel and be our church. So we're going to build it out to be Access Church. So excited.
Did you say 40,000?
40,000 square feet.
So that gives you some room to do something.
Yeah, my hope is we're going to keep growing.
Yeah, I want to get back to talking about you as a couple. She was diagnosed with cancer the first year you were married.
Yeah.
And I've talked to her about that, but I haven't talked to you, Jason. What's it like to be a new husband and you have this beautiful bride?
Yeah, you just can't expect it. And so when you say, till death do us part, for better or worse, richer or poorer, sickness and in health, it's easy when things are better. It's easy when there's money. It's easy when they're healthy. But I actually think this. I actually think that God allows us to go through certain things to prepare us for what is coming. And so while that was difficult and challenging, it was actually one of the most beautiful seasons of our life. And so, you know, in great darkness, light shines brighter. In the same way, in one of the darker seasons of our life, we laughed more than we've ever laughed.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It forced us to really prove that we loved each other, to demonstrate love to each other. And so it was a really special time, actually.
And keep each other up.
Yeah. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody. It was challenging, but we found beauty in those ashes.
Yeah. I look back over the Pentecostal movement. My dad was a Pentecostal preacher with the Assemblies of God. And I kind of see it this way, that they were persecuted. They were poor, and people thought they were stupid. And I remember, you know, when they have a tent meeting or something, my dad told me about it. Well, then my generation, we kind of went to Bible college a little more and moved from the other side of the track and built some really beautiful buildings.
Yeah.
Buildings were kind of the thing. Maybe there was a psychological part to it. But your generation is different in that an elaborate building is not that important. And it's not important to youth at all. And I can see these steps. They're very, very understandable.
Yeah.
And so, since you're a preacher's kid, and you would be more like my grandson, I guess, what do you see that's really different from what maybe your dad did as a pastor?
Well, in regards to buildings or just in general?
In general.
In general, I think that
I know the music's changed.
The music's changed. The message of the songs haven't changed. Just the style changes. But I really think that generationally, our generation, a younger generation, wants a cause. They want something to really, really live for. And so it's not enough to just attend church. They want to be actively involved in serving God in a way that makes a difference with their life. And so this weekend, we're kicking off a series at our church called Legacy. We're actually going to talk about the building, but that's a small part of it. And we're just asking the question, what will you do that will outlive you? Like at the end of your life, how can your life keep on living, essentially because of the difference that you've made in this? And so my hope is that everyone connects to that.
I'm glad you're on that at such a young age, because at my age, you think about that a lot.
Yes.
Okay, now, this church did something really spectacular. Really spectacular. And we've actually got it on tape,
Yeah.
what your church did. So let's take a look at the generosity of this church, because that really has been the hallmark, even in my own mind, of this church, that they are generous, and I just know one thing, that God's going to bless them. Take a look at this.
Access Church, you are the most amazing, generous church I've ever met. I mean, you're unbelievable in the way that you love other people, and your generosity proves it. Now, one of the fun things about pastoring here is we get to take your generosity and ask, what can we do to make a huge difference around the world and here in our city? Now, we love the city of Lakeland, so we started asking, what's a need here in the city? And we found an amazing one to use your generosity to meet. We found out that there's over $3 million in deferred medical debt in our city. Now, this is medical debt that is way deep in collections. It's sitting on people's credit reports. And this $3 million is owned by people who live at less than half of the federal poverty line. So they're making such little amounts of money that this debt has to be crippling, and it's just sitting on their credit report. So we ask, what can we do about it? And I just want to tell you, we found an amazing organization that buys that debt in bulk and can literally eliminate it from people. It provides freedom for these families. And so because of your generosity and because of your giving, we paid over half of it. We gave to pay $1.62 million in medical debt. Come on, you can do better than that, everybody. It's amazing. Amazing. Your giving helped to eliminate this. In our zip code alone, we paid off $461,000 of debt. Check this out. This week, 1,315 families are getting letters in the mail saying your debt has been paid because Access Church loves you. Come on, somebody celebrate that. Isn't that amazing? Amazing. I love being a part of a generous church. I mean, it is so much fun. Now, you need to know this. As a church, we're saving up every penny we can because we believe someday God's going to open the door for us to have our own building, but that never stops us from being a generous church. So thank you for being the most generous. It's irrational how generous you are, and I love, love, love it. Come on, let's celebrate it one more time, everybody. Amazing.
I've got goosebumps and tears in my eyes. That kind of leaves me speechless. That money really getting to the people. Sometimes you wonder with giving to a church, there's so many basic expenses. I mean, they have to pay their light bill just like everybody else. But the blessing of that can't be measured. Now, have you heard from any of the people who...
Yeah, we just even have been getting reports. It's really interesting. And God is so good at what he does. I know he is orchestrating every single letter, but one we got in particular from a woman, and it was so interesting to see. She posted that she was just in shock and in tears, and we knew that her family just had a really, they knew of God, but there was some sort of hold there, and we just thought, God, you're so good at what you're doing. You are orchestrating that the people that are seeing this are seeing the hands and feet of Jesus in a tangible way.
You know, it's not bad for your church to have the reputation of being generous.
Yeah.
It could be way worse things.
It could be so much worse. Yes. I think it's interesting that on the heels of this, you find the building.
Oh, it's not coincidental. I believe that you cannot outgive God, and so we just continue to give. And as we give, God's blessed us in unbelievable ways. In that video from 2 months ago, we didn't have a building, and this Sunday we tell our church, we got a building.
Oh, praise God. And of course, your whole history is not just in paying off insurance, medical insurance, but you've been faithful. Probably in the beginning, your little offerings weren't that much, but I think God really, really looks at that generosity.
I hope so.
the building's probably given you a whole new excitement, but are you thinking of any changes when you do get your?
Well, right now, we just want to stop setting up and tearing down. That's the big change. But I'm sure that what will happen is the building will be catalytic. It'll be gasoline on the fire. We've been in an amazing season of growth. The last few months, we just added a service time. I believe that when we get this building, the problem will be that we will outgrow this building, and then we'll just see what God opens up for us next.
Yes, and multiple services, wonderful thing. Sometimes they just make it more convenient for people. If you've just joined me, I'm speaking to the pastors of Access Church in Lakeland, Jason and Liz Burns. And if you're in that area, I think you might want to visit. And they do have a lot of young people, but I've been there, and there's people my age there too. But
Young people.
What I'd like to say, Jason, I think I'm a connoisseur of preachers. I love great preaching. I love people that really know the Word. And you're a very good preacher.
Thank you.
I want you to. In fact, I was listening to you in your church one day. You come out, you have a topic. There's not a note anywhere. I even turned around to look to see if you had a screen in the balcony, because with no note or anything, you stayed right on subject. Did God give that to you, or have you developed it?
The quick story on it is I used to wear glasses. I hated wearing glasses, so I bought contacts. The contacts were weighted, so they had to be a certain direction. And one day I was preaching, and I blinked, and my contact went out of focus. And I looked at my notes, and the page went gray. So I blinked again, and it stayed gray. And I shut my Bible and said, you know what? I'm just going to see what happens. And it went really good. So the next week I had notes, but I was like, I'll just pretend I don't have them. And I haven't used notes since then.
Well, it's quite amazing because you're in new material every week. If you're on the evangelistic field and you kind of have one group of sermons or one sermon, that's one thing. And I would say it's a gift that you could stay on track like you do and not have anything. I think the Lord has really, really ordained you to, and I'm excited about your new building. And I'm excited about you. You are such an important part of Homekeepers, and we thank you for absolutely everything, for watching, for praying for us, for all your notes and emails of encouragement. Thank you so very much, and I do hope you'll join me next time, remembering there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you should miss a Homekeepers program, you can catch up by going to www.ctnonline.com. Click on CTN Programs and then on Homekeepers.